this is Bob Mason from FX Empire and welcome to the daily crypto tech review of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin and Ripple's XRP. Looking at the MACDs, the moving averages, the day's support, resistance and pivot levels, and the Fibonacci's. It is Sunday the 28th of March. Looking at Bitcoin against the US dollar and the hourly candlesticks, bearish start to the day here. Again, you see Bitcoin avoid the pivot at 55,517 to take a run at the first major resistance level at 57,024. We'll need to see support from the broader market for Bitcoin to break out from yesterday's high, 56,655. So barring an extended rally on the day, expect that first major resistance level and resistance at 57,500 to cap any upside. In the event of a breakout, could see Bitcoin test resistance at 60,000 before any pullback. Second major resistance level sits at 58,162. Fall through the pivot, we'll bring the first major support level at 54,379 into play. Barring an extended sell-off on the day, Bitcoin should stick over the second major support level at 52,872. Looking at the MACD, we've got a possible bearish cross this morning, supporting this early morning pullback, so keep an eye on that. On the EMAs, the 50s holding its ground against the 100 and closing in marginally on the 200. So that's still a bullish indicator for now. So key through the early part of the day, avoid a fall through the pivot at 55,517, breakout from yesterday's high, 56,655 to bring resistance levels into play. Failure to do that and support levels will come into play. Moving across to Ethereum against the US dollar, also bearish this morning. Going to need to see Ethereum avoid the pivot at 1704 to take a run at the first major resistance level at 1742. We'll need to see support from the broader market for Ethereum to break out from yesterday's high at 1732.85. So barring an extended rally on the day, expect that first major resistance level and resistance at 1750 to cap any upside. In the event of a breakout, could see Ethereum test resistance at 1800 before any pullback. Second major resistance level sits at 1771. Fall through the pivot, we bring the first major support level at 1676 into play. Barring an extended sell-off on the day, Ethereum should still well clear of sub 1600s. Second major support level at 1638 should limit the downside. Looking at the MACD, we've got a bearish cross at the start of the day supporting the early morning pullback. On the EMA, 50s holding its ground against the 100, however, having narrowed marginally on the 200. So key through the early part of the day, avoid a fall through the pivot at 1704 and break through yesterday's high, 1732.85 to bring resistance levels into play. Failure to do that, support levels will come into play. Moving across to Litecoin against US dollar, tracking the broader market, bearish start. You're going to need to see Litecoin avoid a fallback through the pivot at 183 to take a run at the first major resistance level, say at 189. You're going to need to see support from the broader market for Litecoin to break out from yesterday's high. It was at 186.24. So barring an extended rally on the day, expect that first major resistance level and resistance at 190 to cap any upside. In the event of a breakout, could see Litecoin test resistance at the 23.6% fib at 195. Second major resistance level sits at 191. Fall back through the pivot, we'll bring the first major support level at 179 into play. Barring an extended sell-off on the day, Litecoin should stay clear of sub 170s. Second major support level at 174 should limit the downside. Looking at the MACD, got a narrowing of the bullish histogram and we could see a possible bearish cross, so keep an eye on that. On the EMAs, the 50s flattened on the 100 and the 200, so that is also suggestive of a possible pullback through the morning. So keep through the early part of the day, avoid a fallback through the pivot at 183 to bring resistance levels into play. Failure to do that and support levels will be in play. Finally, looking at Ripple's XRP against the US dollar, slightly bullish start to the day, bucking the trend. Going to need to see Ripple's XRP move through the pivot at 0.5522 to take a run at the first major resistance level, so 0.5704. Going to need to see support from the broader market for Ripple's XRP to break back through to 0.57s. So barring an extended rally on the day, expect that first major resistance level and yesterday's high at 0.5745 to cap any upside. In the event of an extended rally, could see Ripple's XRP test resistance at 0.60 before any pullback. Second major resistance level sits at 0.5927. Failure to move through the pivot, we'll bring the 23.6% fib at 0.5320 and the first major support level at 0.5299 into play. Barring an extended sell-off on the day, Ripple's XRP should avoid the second major support level at 0.5117. Looking at the MACD, we've got a widening of the bearish histogram at the turn of the day, suggestive of some downside ahead. So I need to keep an eye on that. On the EMAs, the 50s flattened on the 100 and the 200, so nothing conclusive there to provide direction. So key through the early part of the day would be to move through the pivot of 0.5522 to bring resistance levels into play. Failure to do that, and support levels will come into play.